Hey guys, so in my last video I talked a little bit about my brain surgery experience, and today I wanted to follow that up with my radiation treatment experience, since that's what I did right after the brain surgery. And I just wanted to explain a little bit for the people who don't know, because sometimes I forget to mention that, like, my situation, so people will hear something in the middle of the video and be a little confused. But anyway, I live in Japan, and I had to get brain surgery 2.5 years ago after finding out that I had a tumor located in my brain here, which I have a video on if you are interested in watching how I found out about that. And I also made a video recently about my brain surgery experience here. And I thought it would be useful to also talk about my radiation treatment experience, so that is what we'll be doing today. So I had a grade 2 astrocytoma, or still have, I guess, a grade 2 astrocytoma, which is a type of tumor in my brain here. And after my brain surgery, I think they gave me a week or two-ish to kind of recover before we had to start the radiation treatment. So the point of the radiation treatment is to put off regrowth. There's obviously no guarantee that radiation is going to kill every single cancer cell, and is actually pretty rare, at least in the case of brain cells, because they can't just go around firing all the radiation into your brain without seriously hurting your cognitive abilities and things like that. So what the first thing I had to do is go and meet with the oncologist. He is actually the one who gave me my prognosis, which I made a separate video on if you're interested in watching that. And what the oncologist does is they look at where the tumor is, and they try to predict, in some cases, where the tumor cells might be growing based on the biopsy, which told them how fast they are growing. And the oncologist will plan out a map of the treatment, as well as determine how many treatments he or she thinks will be necessary for you. So I met with the oncologist, and he showed me like a grid. I had no idea what I was looking at of what he had planned for me, and told me I would need, I think it was 35, I want to say 30 or 35 treatments I would have to get to finish my treatment. So with the first thing you have to do, well, I guess that's the first thing. The next thing you have to do is, when you get radiation, I don't know about other areas of your body because obviously I've only had this done to my head, but I had to like make a mask to cover my head that would keep my head completely still. Because if you can imagine, they're firing radiation into your brain. If you move, it's going to mess up the whole mapping that the oncologist has planned for you. So they do this by getting this, like, you might have seen like a picture of it somewhere, but it's like a sheet. It's kind of like a plasticky, rubbery material, and it has a bunch of holes in it, and this is moldable. So they warm it up, and then they place it over your head and let it harden. So eventually, when I went on to get my treatment, every time I went, they would put this over my face and kind of pin it down, and that's what kept my head in the same position every single time, completely still. There was nothing really notable about that experience. I mean, it is warm when they put the mask on, and when you go in for your treatments, it is a little tight, but it doesn't hurt at all. After you leave, you get like these little circles on your forehead from it leaving the impression on your skin, but that's it. So that was harmless, not really important experience, but that is what they do. And so then I would then go on to start my treatments. I think I did 30 or 35, and I did them every day, on every weekday. I had the weekends off. And in Japan, there is socialized healthcare, so it is a lot more affordable for me to do this type of thing here than it would have been if I lived in America, which includes the hospital stay. My doctor actually wanted and recommended for me to stay in the hospital as an inpatient during the whole however many weeks it took to get all of the treatments. If I had done this in America, I would have had to go to and from the hospital and my house every single day to get these treatments, which would have been, needless to say, extremely tiring. If you know anyone, or if you have had radiation, you know it can be very, very difficult on you and make you very, very exhausted. So the doctor just wanted me to stay put. So in that way, my experience was probably a little different from what many other people have or will experience. But I did stay in the hospital for the entire time. And so anyway, every day the nurse would come and call me and tell me it was time for my radiation treatment, and I would go downstairs in the hospital to that part of the hospital where it would be done. It doesn't take long at all. It just took a few minutes. You go in, you lay down, they put the mask on, and then the radiation treatment begins. There's like a machine that goes around your head and makes some like buzzing noises as it's doing what it does. And then that's it, and then you leave. You don't really feel any different afterwards at all. I think it's more of like an accumulative effect. They can't put so much in at once, to do a little bit at a time. So before I started, I think my grandma had received radiation treatment before, and she had warned me, oh, it's so tiring. And my mom had heard that from many people as well, that I'd be super exhausted. So I was a little worried about that. And my grandma had also warned me that it can burn your skin. So she recommended that I bring aloe vera with me to keep my skin, I guess, not burned, or to help it in case it gets burned. So I did do that. So I didn't notice anything maybe the first week. It's hard to remember now, but I remember in the beginning I was kind of like waiting for my hair to start falling out because I knew that that was going to happen. And it didn't happen at first. And I had this, because I had to get surgery, I already had this part of my hair shaved short. So it wasn't like clumps of my hair were going to start falling out. I could kind of see eventually where it got a little thinner here. And overall, the hair loss itself didn't bother me because, like I said, I already had to have this hair shaved off. But it was actually more annoying than I thought it was going to be. And it's kind of hard for me to explain, but maybe like the radiation made my skin more sensitive. And when the hair started falling out, I actually just wanted it all to come out. I was getting tired of it. Like, if you can imagine, like, if you have your hair follicle and it's kind of sensitive, and then there's a hair in it, and your hair follicle is sensitive and sore, it felt to me like my root that was in that follicle was like a needle, and it was like a little painful. So if I like went like this, I just felt like there were like little tiny needles going into my scalp. So when my hair did start to fall out, I started like going like this and pulling it out because it just felt so much better just have it out. I think at one point I like took a lint roller and I was going like this because I wanted it to come out so bad because it was really annoying. Oh, I keep moving the camera. The radiation, of course, goes through your head, so I was also losing hair on this side of my head, but maybe because the hair is longer here, I didn't notice it coming out on this side at all. It wasn't until I got my hair cut for the first time after everything that the hair just was like, oh yeah, your hair is thin on this side. I can't tell even now if it is, but that's all that I know about that. She said that it was thin on that side. But yeah, of course it's going to fall out on the other side of your head too, so that is something to keep in mind. I'm just thankful I didn't have to get it like on the top of my head because I can pull off this hairstyle for a little while longer, but anyway. So my hair started to fall out, and it follows like, it's not a pretty shape. It follows whatever pattern there is that the oncologist created for you. And I remember it was like, it started small, but eventually it got pretty large. It went like all the way around. It kind of looked like a continent. It went like all the way around my head. And it actually went pretty far back here. I mentioned in my last video how I'm currently growing out this hair here, but it went even further back than that. And I had like, I don't actually know where this came from at all, but I had a patch here that was like a perfect oval, just right there. And then I had hair in between this and that. So I ended up just shaving it all to make it one giant bald spot because I thought it was so strange that I had that little like circle there. And so yeah, it fell out gradually, and then eventually it's baby skin smooth. Like that hair is gone. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was a little colder than I thought. I mean, of course, when you get your hair cut, and of course if you shave it off when the wind blows through it, it feels a lot colder than you were used to. But it was, after that, it wasn't painful. I put the aloe on every single day after therapy. Even when I had the hair there, I just rubbed it in because it absorbs into your skin pretty quickly anyway. And I didn't get any burning or any irritation or dry skin or anything like that. It was pretty easy for me, actually. And at the end of the treatment, I've heard that, and I know people who have gotten very, very exhausted towards the end of their treatment, but I didn't experience anything like that. I felt more or less fine. However, I'm sure that if I had to go to and from the hospital every day and I was walking around outside, I probably would have been a lot more tired than I was because I was kind of just confined to my hospital room, my hospital bed. I would like walk to like the little common area to like look out the window. and just watched YouTube. That's literally all I did. So it's hard to say. Under different circumstances, I'm sure I probably would have been a lot more tired than I was. Anyway, the last thing I want to mention is my hair regrowth. So I don't know if you can tell, this part of my hair is still thinned out. I don't think that hair is ever going to go back to being as thick as it once was. You can kind of compare it to these other sections, and you can see my scalp here. I think, yeah, you can. So that's the first thing. I don't think, maybe for some people it all comes back, but for me it definitely didn't. I have this thin patch here. As for this side of my head, I actually haven't asked my hairdresser, so I'm not sure. It feels thick to me. It feels normal. So I think this side is fine. It might have grown back, but I'm never going to know for sure. But this, you can like visibly see this patch here that is not as thick. The other thing that I did to my hair is it did change the color. It's not as obvious now because it's a little longer, but when it's cut really short, it actually made it less red. My natural hair color is this reddish blondish color, but the part that got the radiation actually turned brown. It was a lot easier to see when you could see that circle I was telling you about, because that perfect circle patch of hair was brown. I'll see if I can find some pictures of it to kind of show you guys. But so there are permanent effects of the radiation on my head. But there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, I know chemo does the same thing to people. Not everyone regains all their hair after they've lost it all. But overall, I think I made out okay. Since I was lucky with the location on my head, I can cover it up. I'm a teacher, and my students, I think they know that I have this short hair here, but it doesn't distract them or anything like that because I can just cover it up like this. When I go to the hairdresser, I ask them to cut it both ways. Like if I was to wear it down like this and if I was to wear it like this, then it's fine for me. But I think that's everything about radiation. I can't think of anything else that's worth bringing up, but if I forgot something or if you have a question or anything to add about your experience, please leave something down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!